Why the Boston Red Sox are playing their way out of a postseason spot.
You are Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Gabby Maljanian, former ESPN social media associate and currently the host of the Boston Balling podcast as well. And I'm here to bring you the latest in all things Boston Red Sox Monday through Friday straight to your favorite podcast feed. And the best part, it's all free. So make sure that you tune in because Locked On is here for you every single day. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Well. Another loss for the Red Sox last night. I really don't know what to say about it other than this is getting beyond frustrating. This team has been so bad since Roman Anthony went on the injured list. I'm going to be discussing last night's game on today's show. Are the playoffs in jeopardy for the Boston Red Sox? What's up with Alex Bregman and also Greg Weissert and his struggles this season? So the Red Sox entered a series last night against the A's that was a must-win series, and it almost truly felt like kind of a must-sweep series because, first of all, it's the Athletics, who, by the way, now have a 71-80 record on the season compared to the Red Sox 82-69. So this felt like a series in which the Red Sox had to capitalize and sweep a team like the A's. Now, they didn't sweep them when they played them in Sacramento, but they pounced all over them in the first two games, completely shutting down the A's offense. And then in the last game of that series, the A's ended up winning it. But I had high hopes for the Red Sox going into this series, saying, wow, they have a little bit of a break in their schedule because they're playing an A's team that hasn't been very good. And they have a chance to sweep a series and get some momentum before heading into a difficult part of the schedule to close out the regular season. But the Red Sox had other ideas. They had Connelly Early pitch this game last night, and he threw an absolute gem again. He made his major league debut against the A's last week and completely shut them down then. And once again, he completely shut them down this time around too. He threw into the 6 innings. He threw 5 1/3, giving up 5 hits and 1 earned run with no walks and 7 strikeouts. But here was the key. He only threw 80 pitches. He threw 80 pitches, 56 of them went for strikes. He has an 0.87 ERA right now for this Red Sox team. And why did Alex Cora take him out after only 80 pitches? 5 1/3, he's in the 6th inning, he's still looking good, and Alex Cora said, no, we're taking you out now. Of course, that ended up backfiring on the Red Sox ultimately. And when Alex Cora was asked about it, his reasoning for pulling him basically was because Brent Rooker was coming up to the plate for a 3rd time, and Cora didn't trust Early to pitch to him again. Well, as a result, Alex Cora overthought the moment, and it ended up backfiring on the Red Sox, and ultimately they ended up losing this game. But that's hardly the biggest issue with this game and this Red Sox team in general right now. The biggest issue with this Red Sox team right now is that they cannot hit when they have runners in scoring position. They left 9 on base in this game and went 0 for 7 with runners in scoring position, with Romy Gonzalez going 0 for 2, Nate Eaton going 0 for 2, Cedar Rafaela going 0 for 1, and Carlos Narvaez going 0 for 2. Those are the guys that stepped up to the plate with runners in scoring position that had the opportunity to score people, and they could not. The Red Sox had the bases loaded with nobody out in the 2nd inning, and then they went strikeout double play to end the inning. No runs scored. That just cannot happen. If you're coming up to the plate with the bases loaded and nobody out, you cannot strike out. That's the absolute worst thing you can do. Just make contact, put the ball in play. Good things happen when you put the ball in play. Even if it results in an out, you still have base runners and you still have a couple more chances to put runs on the board. So striking out with the bases loaded and nobody out is the biggest issue with that, and then obviously rounding into a double play after that to end the inning. So that basically killed all momentum the Red Sox could have had for this game. That second inning truly set the tone for how this game went because the Red Sox were not able to do anything. They scored one run in this game, and the lone run came on an error by the A's. So a pathetic showing on offense once again, and the Red Sox, as of late, have had a ton of trouble with runners in scoring position over their last 6 games. Last Tuesday, they went 2 for 11 with runners in scoring position. Wednesday, they went 2 for 16. Thursday, they were off, but then Friday, 0 for 8 with runners in scoring position. Saturday, 1 for 7 in that spot. And then on Sunday in the first inning, they kind of went off, but that was when they scored 6 runs. In that inning, they went 3 for 4 with runners in scoring position in the first inning on Sunday. But then for the rest of that night, they went 0 for 5 with runners in scoring position. Bats basically went ice cold. And then last night, they went 0 for 7 with runners in scoring position. These are terrible, terrible numbers. So that total, excluding the first inning on Sunday, is 5 for 54 with runners in scoring position, which is a .092 batting average. That is pathetic and highly, highly concerning. Now, when you think about the Red Sox lineup right now and where it's at, I look at that lineup and there's not a single player in that lineup right now that I can trust to come through with runners in scoring position. Now, granted, they are missing a couple key players, specifically Roman, Anthony, and Wilyer Abreu, that I am thinking of that are key parts of this lineup. Wilyer Abreu has been one of the best hitters on the team all season long. Roman Anthony has, since getting called up, been one of the Red Sox best hitters as well. He's been hitting in the leadoff spot, and that's a great home for him. And he's been able to get the big hits when needed too. So you're missing 2 players in this lineup who can help out with getting the big hits in the big moments. And the biggest problem is that the Red Sox will record hits sporadically, but they don't know how to play smart baseball. They run themselves into outs on the base paths. They make errors. They don't always know the best decision to make, and they're not hitting on top of that. So all of that combined could lead to the Red Sox missing the playoffs. And it's honestly a likely possibility that it does happen, because for a while I was like, wow, maybe the Red Sox actually have a shot of winning their division. And that was kind of what I was focused on and looking at, but because of the fact that as of late, the Red Sox just cannot win games consistently and the Blue Jays are winning games consistently, they are now 7 games behind the Blue Jays for first place in the AL East with 11 games to go. So the division is out of the question at this point. The Red Sox are not winning the division. What is scary is they do have a series against Toronto next week in the last week of the regular season, which could go very poorly for Boston. So the division is out of the question now. Now it's just focusing on even getting into the playoffs, and that means getting a wild card spot. And where are the Red Sox in the wild card standings? Now they are in a spot where it's not guaranteed. The Yankees hold the top wild card spot right now in the AL with a 2-game lead over the Red Sox. Now, they are in the 3rd wild card spot now. The Houston Astros are a half game ahead of the Red Sox. Their record is 83-69 compared to the Red Sox 82-69. So they are neck and neck with Houston right now. Cleveland is only 2.5 games behind the Red Sox for that final wild card spot, again, with 11 games left to play. So there's no guarantee that the Red Sox are going to make the playoffs. And it feels like Alex Cora is managing this team too far ahead, and the front office decisions are being made based on the playoffs, and we need to make sure guys are good to go for the playoffs. Sure, I obviously understand that you need players to be healthy when it comes to playoff time, but you need to get there first. And I just feel like they are getting way too ahead of themselves right now and assuming that they have the playoffs on lock, and that is far from the case. They need to win games, and it starts with winning this series against the A's. they should be able to score more than one run with this Red Sox lineup. And you cannot have guys just disappearing and going completely dark at the plate. This is not the time of year for that. And with where this Red Sox team is at right now, there is very few and very little opportunity for error. They just need to win baseball games. And they did have opportunities, again, like I said, to win the baseball game last night. And they are just not capitalizing on opportunities. And essentially, the Red Sox weaknesses are being exposed right now. The rotation having some back end issues because guys like Connelly Early, who started the game and was pulled after 80 pitches, even though he's effective, he kind of sometimes lacks the pitch/inning capacity or leash of more established starters. It's clear that Alex Cora doesn't necessarily trust him as much as he trusts some of the veterans. So if you're relying on a guy like that to make a playoff start, it's a little bit scary because it shows that you don't really have the depth that you thought you had in the starting rotation. Obviously, injuries play a part in that, but there are some holes here that we're really seeing now, and the Red Sox lack of moves at the trade deadline are really coming to light right now. And also, they have some bullpen problems with Greg Weissert struggling, who I'm going to be discussing a little bit later on today's show. And then you look at the lineup and the fact that they just are not hitting. And that is the biggest concern right now, because the pitching overall has done its job and been effective for this Red Sox team. I mean, again, they kept the A's to 2 runs, which in all senses of the word should have been 0 runs, but woulda, coulda, shoulda at this point. So the pitching primarily is doing its job. Now the offense needs to be able to catch up and be able to do its job as well to drive in runs with runners in scoring position, because they have been painfully bad in that area. And that is what has led to them losing a lot of these games down the stretch. And so many players need to step up more than they are, including Alex Bregman. What has caused him to struggle so much? I'm going to be discussing that next. If you love sports, you should check out PrizePicks if you want to make money while watching sports. It's a fantasy app that involves making the right call and it actually paying off. We all make decisions every day, but on PrizePicks, being right means cashing in. And with football back, PrizePicks is the simplest and fastest way to get in on the action. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player projections, and you can turn your takes into real prizes, all in less than 60 seconds. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKDOWNMLB to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKDOWNMLB for $50 in lineups after your first $5 play. PrizePicks. It's good to be right. Well, you know what's not good? The Red Sox losing again, this time against the A's. Now, they had a really disappointing series over the weekend against the Yankees. And I said, okay, this is not a good series for the Red Sox, but let's just move on and bounce back. And their bats just continue to be cold, especially with runners in scoring positions. Situational hitting, they don't know how to do that. And there are just not enough players in this lineup right now who can step up and get that big hit to drive in runs. And that has been a massive issue. And one player that the Red Sox relied on a lot early on in the season to get the job done in those types of scenarios is Alex Bregman. He is making $40 million this season to go out there and step up in the big moments. And so far, he has not done that since returning from his injury. Now, granted, obviously players deserve a pass when they have an injury. He was a little rusty upon coming back, but this is more than rustiness. He has straight up been bad. He's seen a significant drop in his offensive performance recently with a 198 batting average and 548 OPS in his last 25 games in September and even leading back into August. So it's been a huge drop off for him, and he is just not seeing the ball well at all right now. He has acknowledged a disconnection in his swing since his return from injury, which contributes to his struggles, and late season fatigue also has probably played a role for him in his declining numbers, with the effects of his recent quad injury possibly limiting his performance on the bases and at the plate. So that's definitely a possibility. His defense has still been really good, but his offensive productivity has completely declined, and that hurts this Red Sox lineup because part of what gave the Red Sox a lot of success throughout the course of this season was the production that Alex Bregman was giving us in the 2-hole, and him going out there and being able to get big hits and drive-in runs and showing people why he gets paid what he's getting paid was a big piece of this offense. And now all of a sudden he's not seeing the ball well. So we're left here saying, well, was he not worth the money? Should we not have brought him in here? He's a great clubhouse leader for these players. And it's great that you hear stories about him staying up super late, trying to figure out how the pitchers can improve and what they collectively as a team can do to continue to grow. But he also needs to focus on himself and his own offensive struggles and figure out what is leading to him not being able to contribute at the plate nearly at the same high level that he was earlier on in the season. So mechanics are definitely an issue. And he has had this happen before. He had a really slow start to the season in 2024 with his 577 OPS in March and April being his worst ever mark for a single month. He is approaching arguably the worst month of his career with how his September has been going. And in 2024, pitchers did begin to exploit his struggles against fastballs, which he did not handle as well as he had in previous years, leading to a significant decrease in his effectiveness against this pitch type. And pitchers would just continue to throw fastballs to him, knowing that he struggled with that pitch, because why wouldn't they? So his struggles have put pressure on the Red Sox offense as the team tries to make a playoff push, because since he is a key hitter and he's a veteran and the Red Sox are relying on his productivity, when he's not giving that, it creates a lot more pressure for everybody else to step up and perform. And mentally, I think that's also naturally leading to the team as a whole not performing as well, because they're in their heads right now. They're like, well, we need to make the playoffs. We need to win games. So guys are going out there and approaching their at-bats with a hero approach of saying, I need to swing for the fences and hit one over the fence so that we can take the lead, or we can, decrease the gap between us and our opponent. So I think there's a lot of mental things going on with a lot of these players right now, because they're feeling like they have to step up a lot more. And Alex Bregman is one of the biggest causes for that, because of the fact that he has not performed to the level in which he's supposed to be performing at. So hopefully that's something that changes soon. His bat to ball skills do remain intact, and defensively he still plays a sound third base, but his swing has been super inconsistent, and the OPS that he has right now in September has been one of the worst of his career. So also, the fact that he's showing signs of fatigue is leading to a lower power output for him. So he's just not hitting the ball as hard as we saw from him earlier on in the season. And while he is back on the field, he still has not yet reached his pre-injury form, which is really upsetting, because what if the injury was just so taxing for him that he won't get back to that? And that would be a tough break for this Boston Red Sox team. So he has acknowledged his mechanical issues, being that his top half is pulling the ball off early. So essentially, he has seen a decrease in power, pulling off the ball early, and just not hitting as effectively. So what exactly has changed for him? So what has been going on here is that he is swinging and missing a lot more than he did earlier on in the season. He's chasing a lot more pitches than he was before, and he's been a lot more hesitant at the plate. We've always kind of known Bregman to be an aggressive hitter, but now it's at the point where he's not really being an aggressive hitter anymore, and he's kind of shying away from swinging the bat and being confident in it, and he just doesn't look as confident overall at the plate as we saw from him in the first half of the season. So a key to his really early season success was his percentage of batted balls that were pulled in the air. And the problem is he's just not pulling as many now, and he's seeing a decrease in overall productivity. So in order for him to return to his early season power, he needs to pull the ball in the air more, but his approach has slightly shifted in conjunction with his power outage, if you will, that we've seen as of late. So he's essentially trying to get back to the point where he's back in the swing of things, but he needs to have a more aggressive approach at the plate. And he's definitely in his head about something right now because he just doesn't look as confident. He's not putting together as many quality at-bats. And we'll still see at-bats of his where he has a really good hold in which he doesn't swing at a pitch that a lot of younger players that are less experienced would swing at, but he takes it and it goes for a ball because he's a veteran hitter. So you still see his veteran characteristics in there. But the problem is that for some reason, he's been changing his approach since his injury, and his mechanics have been affected by it, just not pulling the ball in the air as much in general. So Alex Bregman needs to get back on track is the bottom line. This Red Sox lineup will not go very far in the playoffs if they don't have Alex Bregman in his truest form. And the best thing about Alex Bregman is that we have seen him step up in the big moments time and time again. And I have no doubt that that could happen. He's not afraid of the big moments. This is a guy who has a lot of experience playing in the postseason, knows what it's like to win, and can go out there and at least know what to expect in terms of the atmosphere. Even at Fenway, he's played a lot of playoff games at Fenway in his career with the Houston Astros. So he's acclimated himself to that environment and understanding what Fenway could possibly be like in October this year if we hopefully get October baseball in Boston. So what's great about Alex Bregman is the fact that he's a fantastic leader off the field. That's something that you don't really see every day or you don't really get from everybody. It's just how good of a veteran leader Alex Bregman is. And he's been truly super helpful for a lot of the young players and with the pitching staff, even trying to lock in on figuring out how the pitchers can improve. But the problem is that his personal performance is taking a hit because of it. And if the Red Sox don't have Alex Bregman hitting, the lineup looks a lot less competitive because Alex Bregman knows how to put up competitive at-bats. His numbers offensively were among the best on the team in the first half of the season, but things have been a serious struggle for him as of late. And the Red Sox offense as a whole will not be able to produce at a really high level unless Alex Bregman starts hitting again. So he has to get back on track is the bottom line here. Start pulling the ball in the air more, take more aggressive approaches at the plate, and go back to being the patient hitter that you are, because patient and aggressive are two different things. You can be patient by being selective in terms of what to swing at and not being afraid to take a walk, but being aggressive in terms of not shying away from swinging at the good pitches because you're not confident in where it would go. So he needs to just continue to develop confidence, make sure that he is hitting well. And Alex Bregman is the type, again, that could pop off at any time. And I'm sure he's the type of hitter who would come through in the big moments in the postseason, which would be great to see. But the problem is there's no guarantee the Red Sox will be in the postseason. So he has to step up now 100%. Coming up, why do the Red Sox still use Greg Weissert in high leverage? That needs to be a no-go moving forward. It can be really hard to keep track of your finances. Most people can't even name all their financial accounts or what they're worth. I know that I can't. I have so many accounts open and I'm spending so much money on things I don't need to be spending money on. That's why I started using Monarch Money, because it got to be really overwhelming for me being able to keep track of everything I was spending. So Monarch Money is essentially built for people with busy lives. If you've ever put off organizing your finances, Monarch is for you because it does all the heavy lifting for you. It can consolidate all your accounts. It'll tell you what you're spending money on that you don't need. And it's an absolute lifesaver to save money. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONMLB. I'm telling you, Monarch Money will save your life 100%. And if you're ever looking to score last-minute tickets to a concert, comedy show, sporting event, Gametime 100% has you covered. I love Gametime because it guarantees the lowest prices and guarantees that you will have a good view from your seat without it being obstructed, because it'll actually show you what it would look like, the view from your seat. So that's what I love about Gametime, because it has all those perks to offer, and it's very last minute friendly because prices actually drop the closer you get to your event. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Gametime today. Well, the Boston Red Sox took a very disappointing loss against the A's last night. And I have said so many times that the Red Sox have to be better with runners in scoring position. There is no doubt about the fact that that is the Red Sox biggest downfall right now. They just cannot put runs on the board and hit situationally. They don't really have guys in the lineup right now that can really be trusted to drive in runs in those types of situations. And that's why the Alex Bregman situation is such a concern, because the Red Sox are paying him to be that guy, to be somebody who can go out there and drive in runs in the big moments. And he just has not been that over the last month plus. So him turning things around would be a major difference maker for this Red Sox lineup. So that's an issue. But on the pitching side, you have the middle of the bullpen, which is a concern. Greg Weissert is one of those players. He came in relief of Connelly Early in last night's game and did not have it. He threw 0.1 innings, giving up 2 hits with 1 earned run with 1 walk and 1 strikeout. But technically, he gave up both runs. It was just that the first run he gave up was charged to starter Connelly Early because the runner was on base at the time when Weissert came in. So that run wasn't charged to him. But I don't know why the Red Sox continue to use him in high leverage situations, because he has not been effective in those spots. He did blame himself for the Red Sox loss last night. He said, "We lose that game because I can't do my job." He said, "We're fighting all game. Early pitches an unbelievable game, and I go in there and do that shit." Essentially, he said, "It sucks." He said, "Physically, I feel fine. It's been a lot of innings, but it's why I play the game. I want to be out there every day if I can. I have to shut that down in that situation, not let that inherited runner score." Exactly. He let the inherited runner score, and then another run, and the Red Sox offense, of course, cannot score after that, which is another part of the problem. He's thrown the second most innings among Red Sox relievers with 61 2/3 innings thrown this year, behind only Whitlock, who's thrown 67 2/3. So obviously one can argue that his arm just got super fatigued over the course of the season because of his usage. But Garrett Whitlock also has been used a lot, and he's still able to pitch effectively. So that's not really an excuse that can be made. Obviously, he took the blame for the game and the Red Sox losing the game, but the offense is 100% just as much, if not even more, to blame. And Greg Weissert has been struggling in high leverage situations. He does not look confident out there when he pitches with inherited runners on base. And that's an issue. Now, again, Brennan Bernardino is injured right now, and he's a high leverage arm, so that's going to throw off some things here. But the Red Sox need to know now that Greg Weissert is not a high leverage arm. He is a guy that you can throw out there in games where the Red Sox are trailing by a lot of runs or they're winning by a lot of runs. And no matter what he does, the chances of that result changing are incredibly slim. you need him to throw in situations where the Red Sox aren't up or down by 1 run in order to determine the result of a game. Because the issue with this was that the Red Sox had a 1-0 lead, and then he came in and immediately blew that. And as a result, the Red Sox ended up losing that game. Alex Cora has put him in multiple times this year with runners on base, and he's gotten the chance to be able to be effective in those moments, and he has not shown at all that he is able to do that. I believe that Alex Cora made a mistake in last night's game by taking Connelly Early out when he did. He thought it was a matchup thing. He completely overthought that entire thing and just overmanaged the team last night just because Rooker, who's a good hitter, was coming up for a 3rd time, and he didn't even want to chance that and try to have Early pitch to him when Early has shown nothing but signs of dominance in a Boston Red Sox uniform so far. So to me, Alex Cora completely misread that situation and should not have made the decision to pull Early. But even if he still did want to pull Connelly Early when he did, whatever, take him out after 80 pitches, apparently had nothing to do with his pitch count and him being on a limit there. It was just a matchup thing and who was coming up to the plate. Then, all right, whatever. If you made up your mind, you want to pull him, at least put in a guy who has shown the ability to pitch in high leverage situations. Greg Weissert earlier on in the season was that guy. He was pitching in a lot of high leverage, and he was actually delivering and coming through in those high leverage situations. Now, with where he's been over the last month or so, he's been struggling significantly to the point where it's become very apparent that he just is not a high leverage reliever. He's not. Alex Cora needs to get that out of his head, throw him in lower leverage, pitch the guys you trust 100% in those high leverage spots. So Cora made a mistake there by putting Weissert into that game. He just is not good with inherited base runners because that base runner scores the majority of the time when he is out there. So he needs to pitch in lower leverage situations, and the Red Sox just need to figure out their bullpen and make it work to the best of their ability. Put guys in the right spots is going to be the key, starting with Greg Weissert. So obviously a frustrating game overall for the Red Sox, but they better bounce back tonight. That's all I have to say, because other teams are getting awfully close to them in those wild card standings. And I don't even want to entertain the possibility of the Red Sox missing the playoffs yet again. So hopefully they can get it together and start scoring some runs, which would be nice. But I do appreciate you tuning into Locked On Red Sox and always making it your first listen of every day. Next, make sure to check out Locked On MLB Game Night, which is available on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. It's our local experts going over every game, every night, all the way up until a World Series champion is crowned. You're getting local analysis on a national scale. It's really a great show, so make sure you check that out next. Keep the faith, go Red Sox, and I'll catch you on the flip side.